video you are about to watch contains highly classified secrets from the Solinco Racket Company. Now, if you do not know what Solinco is, or if you never wanted to try any of their products, please move along. This video may not help you. However, if you are someone that is looking to improve in your tennis game and figure out what string may work best for you, then stick around. This may just be exactly what you're looking for. Now, the contents of today's video are going to be highly classified because what we were talking about is extremely confidential. So, confidential from the Solinco company. This is a string that they've had out for quite a while. It is not one of the big two that you may have heard of before, being Solinco Hyper G or Solinco Tour Bites. However, it is a very big contender, but you may not have heard of it because, like I said, it is highly classified. Now, if you do not know who I am, my name is Brody Taylor. I have been a Secret Service agent in the racket space and string space for the past 7+ years, as well as I do have a certification known as the MRT status, to where I took a test here in the US in order to understand racket technologies and string technologies in order to better help you understand how they're going to play for your game. So with that being said, the type of string that actually confidential is, if you did not know because it's so top secret, is that this is a polyester string. Now, what Solinco Confidential is going to help you with by being a polyester string is that it is going to be a little bit more helpful creating control and creating spin. One of the ways that this does happen is because Solinco Confidential, being a polyester, it has sides to it, which I have written right down here. We're jumping ahead a little bit. It has 4 sides. Now, those 4 sides, they will bite into the ball in order to help give you an increase in spin. This string is a very spin-heavy machine. And that is why what Solinco Confidential actually helps you with is control and spin. Now, even written on the package, Solinco could not advertise this right away because that would be giving away too many of the secrets of Confidential. They even on the pack said that it is going to help you. I know it is dark because it's very confidential. It's going to help you with power and spin. However, they could not tell you about how much control you're going to get. I personally felt that the power is just a ruse in disguise. There is quite a bit there. However, it's not as much help with power as it is with control. And that's what Solinco, I think, may have been going for in order to keep you on your toes, keep you guessing, and not to have too many people have access to this enormous weapon in their actual tennis racket. Now, the one thing I will have to say about Solinco Confidential before we head up to the court so that way you can see how it plays is the fact that this string needs to settle for a bit before it actually does feel in its best in your racket. I personally played with Confidential. I started out the very first time or two I hit with it from hours about 0 to 2. It was a little bit stiff. It did feel like it was a little bit, I had to do a little bit more of the work myself. Confidential was not helping as much. However, in that 4th hour to a little bit past that, that's where I think I found the sweet spot with Solinco Confidential. And you will now see, as we move to the court, what I am talking about. See you there. Now that we are here at the testing site, I figured on my way I may as well change my clothing to make sure that I fit in with the modern civilian. Of course, hiding in plain sight is always best. Now, as you can see, I am playing here on the clay court, so it is going to favor the amount of spin that Confidential is going to produce. The clay is just going to kick that ball even higher, as well as just give me a lot more help, even though I do tend to typically be a more flat ball striker. Now here, as I pull my opponent off the court, I do still have a lot of feel from Confidential. As you saw, I was able to just gently touch that shot over the net in order to just place it exactly where I wanted, to where my opponent could not get it, because Confidential has that much control. Even though you're on clay, which sometimes can be a little bit harder because your opponent's spin is enhanced as well, Confidential is still able to battle back and make sure that you feel safe, secure, and you can really go for any of your shots that you want, no matter where on the court you are. And then you can cause your opponents to hit out just like you saw. So with Confidential, like I said, this is after a few, I'll say, sessions of playing with it. I do get a nice drop shot there because the string has settled in. Again, when I first started with Confidential, it was a little bit harder to actually hit where I wanted it to go. But after about the first session or two, it really locked in, and that's where I felt Confidential really, really play its best. So if you are wanting to try the string, just be sure to give it more than one play test, because the string needs its time to make sure that it is going to work its best for you. Now, we do have to give my opponent credits for that tweener that he did hit. I do not know how to hit one yet. I not personally have had one. That is something that the agency has not trained me on how to do yet. However, I may or may not be learning that soon. Time will tell. But overall, Confidential does very well. I greatly enjoyed playing with it, and I think that is definitely one to try out the next time you need to restring your racket. Now that we are back from the court, some final thoughts on Solinco Confidential. I personally feel that after having played with Confidential and learning the many secrets that Solinco has hidden within this string, I do feel that this may not be the polyester to try if this is your first time using a polyester, or you have suffered from injuries such as tennis elbow before and your arm has been compromised in the past. The reason for that is because this string does tend to be a little bit stiff. I will say not as stiff or hard on the arm as Solinco Torbite. However, it is still going to be a little bit up there on that scale. So I would say that if you've had those issues before, Confidential may be one to stay away from. Not necessarily the softest option, may cause some problems. However, if you do not have that issue and you do want to try a polyester that is going to be very control oriented, very easy to redirect the pace and absorb the pace of all of those players that are hitting much harder at you, and just be able to allow you to place your ball on the court where you want it to go, whether that be with spin or just powering through the court with a flat shot, I think Solinco Confidential is definitely one to try out. There are many different gauges and many different types of Confidential for you to try, meaning you have the 16 gauge, 16L, 17, and I believe 18 gauge as well, for those of you who want a lot of spin and don't really care about your string breaking that much. Now, as you saw in the video with me playing on clay, I have also played with this on hard court, so my thoughts do still stand for both surfaces. Now, if you are that one person who is lucky enough to be able to play on grass, I am not you. Congratulations. Let me know where I can find one so I can join you next time. However, I think Confidential does very well for all of those that would be looking for that more heavily control-oriented string that is going to help give quite a lot of spin as long as your arm is able to handle it. So with that being said, this transmission is going to end here in the next minute or two. And with that being said, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video and enjoyed learning the secrets of Confidential. The subscription does help to make sure that we can continue to do this, continue giving you the secrets, the information that the companies may or may not want you to know. So with that being said, leave a like, comment down below if you've used Confidential and what you thought about it, as well as I would say share this video with a friend. However, this video, like I said in the beginning, is confidential. So you may want to keep this one to yourself. So with that being said, as always, take care.